Call this meeting to order, the August 3rd, 2021 meeting of the council. This will be our only city council meeting this month. Chris, do we have any public comment signed up? All right, thank you. Roll call, let the record reflect that all members of the council are present. And I need an approval of the agenda, please. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion by Ms. Lee Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ross Bradley.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Now, I need approval of the consent agenda. This is the council minutes from last month, executive session minutes, planning commission, historic preservation, downtown development, and convention and visitors bureau. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
A motion by Mr. Nathan Little. Is there a second?
Second.
Give you the second to Tyler Gregory. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the public presentation, we have two tonight. And unfortunately, we've had to put this one off a couple of times, and I'm happy to read it now. This is to invite the family of Hubert Hawkins to stand, please. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you're here. This is a proclamation to posthumously honor Captain Hubert Hawkins of the City of Monroe Fire Department for his 22 years of service to the citizens of Monroe and Walton County. Whereas on January 26, 1975, Hubert Hawkins began his career at the City of Monroe Fire Department and served under 4 fire chiefs until his retirement in 1996. And whereas during his 22 years of service, Captain Hawkins served as a firefighter and driver, rising through the ranks in numerous positions before his final promotion as a captain. And whereas during his time with the City of Monroe Fire Department, Captain Hawkins witnessed significant change and provided much knowledge to the fire department while always being known for his servant's heart. And whereas Captain Hawkins served the city's citizens of Monroe and Walton County with distinction and was held in the highest esteem by his colleagues with never a cross word spoken. And whereas it is recognized that Captain Hawkins passed away on January 8, 2021, and will be greatly missed by those whose lives he affected. Now therefore, I, John Howard, Mayor of the City of Monroe, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim this 11th day of May, 2021, that Captain Hubert Hawkins be and is hereby recognized and posthumously honored by the City of Monroe, Mayor and Council, for his 22 years of meritorious service to the citizens of Monroe. And be it proclaimed further that the City of Monroe, Mayor and Council extends their warmest gratitude to the family of Captain Hawkins and expresses sincere thanks for his years of dedicated service to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Monroe to be affixed this 11th day of May, the year of our Lord, 2021. I pass this to you, Tony. I will say this about Hubert Hawkins, and I did not know him as a firefighter, but I did know him from climbing up on the roof of the house next door to me. And I can't tell you how old he was, but I'm thinking late 70s. 87 we passed away. We were living next to each other for 7 years. So over 80, he's up doing roof work on the house that I built. I know the builder, the job wasn't the best. We're glad you came. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, we have a Habitat for Humanity presentation. Who would like to come forward, please?
Good evening. I'm Brent Bohannon. I'm the Executive Director of Gwinnett Walton Habitat for Humanity, and I'd like to introduce two of my staff members. Jen Welch is the Director of Programs, and Rhonda Street is our Director of Homeowner Services. We're glad to be here tonight to talk to you a little bit about what we do as Habitat for Humanity. At Habitat, we seek to put God's love into action by bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Our vision is a world where everybody has a safe, decent, affordable place to call home. We partner with businesses, faith communities, civic groups, individuals to build and repair homes for low-income families that make less than 80% of AMI, average median income. Does anybody know the average median income for this area?
35.
$87,200. You're right, absolutely. So we're serving families that fall in 80% or lower of that. Most of our families are 50 to 60%. There's a great need in our community. It's estimated that 1 in 3 households in our community are cost burdened, which means they pay more than 30% of their income on housing, and many pay close to 50%. Our families that we serve work very, very hard to secure their housing. They must demonstrate a need for safe, affordable housing. They must demonstrate the willingness to partner with us through sweat equity as well as life skill classes. And they also have to demonstrate that they can pay a mortgage or they can pay back a portion of the cost if it's a home repair. Since our inception in 1988, Gwinnett Habitat has served over 152 families with new homes. We've also served over 150 families with home repairs. We also served over 200 families in other countries with housing products and solutions. But one of our biggest challenges has been the obstacle of affordable land to build. And so that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, is because we several years ago started to say, how can we find land that's more plentiful than in Gwinnett and more affordable? And so we approached the Walton affiliate, the Walton Habitat affiliate, about 1.5 years ago about the possibility of merging, where we could merge with them and take over their service areas so we could have access to more land and hopefully more affordable land. And they agreed. After several years of inactivity, they were ready to join with us, and they were also volunteer-driven for many years. They liked the idea of us coming in and helping out. So now we're proud and excited to say that we are Gwinnett Walton Habitat for Humanity. We now serve Gwinnett as well as Walton County. I could talk for a long time about our impact and the difference that we make, but I think it's best to hear it from the families that we serve. So we have a video that we'd like for you to check out.
Every person deserves a decent place to call home.
Before we applied with Habitat, I lived in a basement apartment. It was like a makeshift 1-bedroom.
The rent is unbelievable with utilities. I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and struggling, and I did not think there was going to be any sort of chance that I was going to get this, become a homeowner.
It was stressful trying to manage day-to-day life, be great at work, be great at home, and as well as want to progress and be better and give the kids a better future.
Every child deserves a safe place to learn and to dream.
For my son, it was very cramped for him. A 4-year-old wants to play. I knew that I needed to do something. So I started to look around, and I found Habitat.
For my children, it's stability. They don't have to wonder what's next, worry about going to a new school, making new friends, always having a place that they know is their home.
It was emotional. I was excited, and I had a feeling that I can do this. This can happen. This could be my family. And now it is, so it's even more amazing.
Every family deserves the stability that only a home can bring.
We're not taught how to be homeowners, and we have to learn. And I think having an organization like Habitat that not only provides that pathway, but also empowers that homeowner to really be a successful homeowner and member of the community.
It's a hand up, not a handout. It's a wonderful program that gives you an opportunity to move forward.
Our families have to work very, very hard. They are paying a mortgage, and they also put in 250 hours of sweat equity on their home, as well as 12 hours worth of life skill classes and budgeting classes. So our families are working very hard, and it's a very difficult road, but they're willing to do that in order to secure that housing for their family.
Knowing that you're going to have a mortgage and you're going to be responsible for it, and they give you all the steps, so you've got someone that's guiding you every step of the way, so you know what you're doing and you're not getting unexpected expenses or overwhelmed. You're really prepared to be the homeowner.
Our mortgages are interest-free, and they're also profit-free. So our goal is really to help the families have an affordable mortgage.
Seeking to put God's love into action, Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope.
I'm very grateful for Habitat for Humanity and excited that I'm going to be a homeowner as a single mother.
They've changed my life, my children's life, my grandchildren's life, forever. I feel like the sky's the limit now.
A thank you isn't enough. That's too simple. I will live the rest of my life in gratitude for what you have done.
So those families that you got to meet on that video are why we do what we do. It's those changed lives. And that's why we're excited to begin doing that again here in Walton County and here in the city of Monroe. We have just announced that we are going to build the 9th home here in Walton County, right here in Monroe, starting in September. We will be at 324 Turner Street. We will be building our 9th home. So we're excited about that. We have 13 work days, volunteer work days over this fall, and we will be dedicating the house later this year. But our first day, we would love for the city council, anybody else, to come out on our first nail ceremony and be with us as we dedicate the home and we get started. We were really excited about that. So we would love for you to support us in any way that you can. What are our biggest needs? Well, right now, our biggest need is for additional funding. So we rely on the community and sponsors to fund the build so at the end it's completely paid for, and that's how we're able to act as the mortgage company and sell that to our homeowners at no interest and no profit. So we've already received some really great grants from Lowe's, over $44,000, and from Wells Fargo, $15,000. But we still do need some additional funding here locally. Hope Monroe, which is a local nonprofit that helps with affordable housing, has offered to match additional gifts up to $10,000. So there's a little challenge for you. We also need referrals to either contractors or people that provide materials so that we can have in-kind donations to help with construction. That keeps our costs down. And we're also always in need of land. I've heard a little bit this beforehand that y'all might be talking about a piece of property. We're excited about that. There's some information in, you all have a blue bag in front of you, those that are council members and mayor, with some information. There's some information about the land that we're looking for, as well as some other information about our program. So the last thing, before I take any questions, I'd like to announce that Tyler Gregory has just joined our board. And so we're excited that he's going to be there to represent Walton County and also be there to keep you guys informed of what we're doing and how you can support what we're doing. We're just really excited to be back and to be working in Walton County and in Monroe again. So any questions? Time for questions?
Are there any questions?
I have a question, Brand. We hear a lot of discussion about affordable housing and something, you mentioned that. From your perspective, when you're looking at mortgages that you're doing for people, what is a affordable mortgage for the audience of people that you're looking at?
That's a great question. So our rule of thumb is that we don't want anybody to pay more than 30% of their monthly income on their mortgage payment. So if we're serving families that are 80% of AMI, which is $87,200, they're making $40,000 or so. So if you do the math, we're looking for a mortgage that they can afford. Right now, our mortgages are around $700 to $800 a month. But we have families that are coming to us that are paying rent $1,200, $1,400. So not only do they move in with equity, but they have expendable income right away.
So your houses that you build, I know a lot of this is donated in with labor and materials, but what do you generally figure the price of that house would be if it was on the market?
So that's a really good question, too. Several years ago, we were using this special formula to figure that out, and Habitat International said, what we want to do is start selling them at fair market value. So now all our homes are sold at fair market value. We just finished one in Decula that appraised for $255,000. Now, that's not what our family is going to pay because we have built-in subsidy, several different forms of subsidy that act as silent mortgages, that as long as they pay the first one to us, then those others are forgiven. And so they're going to end up paying $175,000. Their mortgage payment's going to be right at $775,000. But the cool thing is it sells at fair market value, so it doesn't hurt the values of homes in the neighborhood.
That's excellent. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for your time.
I do want to do things a little bit differently. The young lady sitting right behind you is Julie Sams. She has a group that they do a lot of work within our lower income neighborhoods, volunteer stuff. They donate their time and talents. So if you would get together and exchange business cards, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. With no public comments, we'll move straight to the public hearing for the rezone at Highway 78 and Aycock Avenue. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an application for a rezone by Jack's Creek Landing LLC on parcel number map 23, parcel 11B00. They're requesting a rezone from M1 to PCD. You can see on the screen there what they're proposing at this point. Staff recommendation is approval as submitted without conditions. They have a plan book, and we didn't have any additional conditions, seeing as how they were wanting to use all B3 permitted uses so far and what they've presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? I'll declare this portion of the meeting open for public comment. Is the applicant in the audience? That'd be you, Charles Preston. Would you like to speak for the rezone?
My name's Charles Preston. We're here to answer any questions or concerns that the council may have. If I cannot answer those questions, we brought pretty much our entire team with us, from our civil engineer, partners, land planner, and our general contractor. So if there's anything that you want to ask.
Great, thank you. Before we do that, Charles, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the rezone? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the rezone? Are there any questions for Charles from council? Thank you, appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
I'll declare this portion of the meeting closed, and we'll revisit that in just a few minutes. Moving to department reports, city administrator update, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items of interest. Got updates on our westbound on-ramp project that we're jointly doing with Walton County and MAB American out there near the new shopping center. All of the various components are at least 75% complete for the engineering design and approvals from GDOT. So we're hoping that by this fall, we can get the permits to go ahead and start construction on that. So that'll dovetail nicely when most of those businesses start opening later next year out at the Pavilion development. We're still marching forward with the eastbound on-ramp, working through some right-of-way acquisition, which appears to all be donations at this point. We just have to satisfy the federal guidelines that the state is under. So just, it strings and makes everything move a whole lot slower, but that is progressing forward nicely. We have an approved design. We've got utility conflicts out of the way. So that one should get going roughly the same timeline as the westbound on-ramp. And the eastbound, if you remember, it's out at West Spring Street, and we'll go out US 78 eastbound. And then lastly, property maintenance has been a hot topic here the last few months, really. Just wanted to let you guys know, with the existing staff we have, code office and our 2 marshals, we're doubling down our efforts, doing everything we can to canvass the city. And of course, we want compliance before notices, so everything is repair cleanup notice on the front end before it ever gets into a citation, which would make its way into municipal court. But as we get into the budget season, we'll see if we can add to that staff, just because our city is growing leaps and bounds. We just have so much more to cover, but just know that you're not going to make everybody happy when we're operating under this program. So there will be complaints, but at the same time, we're already hearing positive comments from other citizens and residents who are just happy to see some action in their neighborhood.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for Mr. Probst?
Not on any of the topics you mentioned, but is there any update on the truck route?
I wish I had more of an update other than they're still acquiring right-of-way. They've moved pretty quickly through most of the parcels, but everything's still on track, according to the last timeline they gave me several months ago. So I'm hoping for a new quarterly update, probably August, September from the state.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Moving to Mr. Bailey, Central Services.
Thank you, sir. Month of July, the grounds guys, parks people picked up a little over 3,000 pounds of trash on roadsides and at facilities, parks, whatnot. while also cutting a lot of grass. We're behind right now. I had sent an email out. We had a couple of heavier rainfall events last week, and then off and on this week, heat. I think they had one crew on the contractor side actually go down with COVID tests. So they are catching up as quickly as they can. The 2020 CDBG stormwater project is actually on the agenda tonight for approval of the construction bids. And then this morning, staff actually evaluated the grant writing services and engineering services for the 2022 CDBG. And as soon as we figure out the area and how we're doing that, that'll kind of start the process. But those will be before you in September. Covers that part of it. Community cleanup, we had an event back first part of the year, and then there have been several independent people that have done different things throughout the year. But right now, we are looking at, and Ms. Krosick and I talked about it, December 4th for another community cleanup event. We thought that would be a good time. We've got that week before, which will be our bicentennial celebration, Christmas parade that Thursday. So we figured we'd start the next, 100 years on a clean path that Saturday, picking up behind all of that. Project updates are current on that last page. Be a little hard to see on a computer, but if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Chris? Hearing none, thank you, Chris. Ms. Thompson, Finance?
Thank you, Mayor. You have before you the finance report as of June. In summary, overall revenues are at or exceeded budget thus far for half the year, and overall expenses citywide are below budget, which is good. We continue to see our sales tax dollars increase year over year, and we have just begun the 2022 capital and operating budget process with department heads, and budget meetings and discussions will be in the coming months with mayor and council. And speaking of budgets, the city was awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award by the Government Finance Officers Association for the 2021 budget book, and this was the 9th year the city of Monroe received this award. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them about the report.
Are there any questions for Beth? 9th year in a row?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. Moving back to Chris Bailey, airport report, please.
Thank you. We started back in July, taking lease and rent payments, tie downs after we had given a 3-month kind of freebie to everybody that had experienced and worked with us on the repaving of the runway. So it's kind of nice to have revenue back in. We're back out of the red on a monthly basis. The other couple of things, fuel sales are up. Summer, people flying, traveling. And then tonight, we've got airport committee, advisory, board appointments. That 3-year term limit is up for the members that were on it previously. And then one other thing of note, extra special people that has had an event at the airport probably for the last 9-10 years. I know for the last 5 or 6, they've been in 6 figures for donations and fundraising for that organization. They will actually host their event again on August 28th at the airport. They're hoping this year is bigger than previous years, and we've managed to do that every single year we hold it. So that's it for the airport. Be glad to take any questions.
That's outstanding. Did they realize it's going to be hot?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any
faster? It'll be a little cooler.
Are there any questions for Chris? Chris, how many planes do we have out there?
Currently, your based aircraft is approximately 34, 46. So it was in the, low 30s for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then with the build of a T hangar increased by 12 and hopefully by another 16 in the future.
That's great. Thank you, sir. Moving to Danny Smith, Solid Waste.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. Our transfer station tonnage is trending up in the month of June compared to last year. Last year in June. We've completed our transition and distribution of the 65-gallon recycling carts. We're going to focus on educating and quality control to try to reduce some of the contamination that we're running into and try to recover more of the material. We are developing what we call a OOPS tag that we'll be tagging the containers that don't have the unacceptable items, and we're going to continue to give them every opportunity to do it right. And if not, we'll have to pull the cart for maybe 4 or 5 months and have them call us to try to do it again. Our glass customers, we up to 311 that's participating. We still want to increase that level too. We are getting a rebate for the glass collection at $25 a ton, so it also takes it out of the waste stream. Plus, you get some revenue from the material. And that's all I have right now. Take any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for Danny? We'll have 311 glass customers for recycling.
Yes, just 311.
We'll put something out there with the phone numbers. The best number to call for your team, is it the 3429 number? What's
770-267-6933.
267-6933?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, moving Jeremiah Still, monthly streets and transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving through what we really got going on right now was major catch-up in the stormwater division, thanks to considerable amount of rainfall over the last week or so. Those guys have probably 2 years' worth of work orders to get through after one major event, but they're staying busy and doing what they can do to get through that. Our LMIG work is hopefully coming to an head this month, coordinating with the milling contractor in the county for Bryant, Pinecrest, and East Washington to be milled and inlaid, hopefully completed this month, if not by the early September. And last thing, we should be through over the next 2 weeks with paving the area where the new water line is going from the plant to the new shopping center. So I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any questions? Quick and painless. Moving to Brian Thompson, Electric Telecom.
First thing I want to update you on was the wreck in the storm we had last week that gave us a lot of fits. The storm caused our telecom department to do 214 work orders in 1 week, which is about almost triple the average work orders. And it's all from the lightning. Damaged modems. Staff went through it and got it knocked out pretty quickly, and the customers were very understanding. So I want to thank both the staff and the customers for understanding the issues we were facing. The Church Street outage was caused by an individual that couldn't stay on the road. They struck a pole right there just this side of Pine Park. Worst possible location. It was our tie section where we run 2 circuits together. Unfortunately, the pole didn't fall completely, and it took its own sweet time to fall, and when it did, it went phase to phase on both circuits. When that happened, that fed all the way back into downtown and went all the way back to the station and took out 2 more circuits. Those were back up fairly quickly, but our time to recovery on parts of Cook Street, back down off Magnolia and on out past Hammond on Church were 4 to 5 hours. Just the only way to get it back up. So we have looked at the possibility of bringing a circuit in from our Burt Street station across 78, across the High Line. I had some discussions today with Georgia Power and MEAG for 2 reasons. Number one, capacity. We're building a lot of houses out that section. And the other reason is to be able to tie that section of town with another circuit to keep them up while we're working to make that area of outage much smaller. We're going to keep looking at that, keep pursuing that. With the possibility of a jail going out there on the county property and the next subdivision, Meadows Farm coming in, we're gonna need more power, more energy out in that area anyway. So, let's try to make it more reliable for the citizens in that part of town. I'll take any questions y'all have on that part. I know it impacted a lot of citizens in that area.
Are there any questions for Brian?
Quick question. When y'all shut off power, how did that process go?
Well, this was shut off by the breaker at the substation. Sort of like the breaker in your home. If something overloads a circuit, the breaker itself opens up to protect the circuit. That's how it initially started. Then when this happened, our main source of power to backfeed into that area was damaged. The switch was burnt. The other switch was at Hammond Drive, and we couldn't turn that on because the backfeed just wouldn't work. We had no capacity to get, our only substations are down below the library and on Burt Street, and there's just no path to there. So what we do is we just open the switches, make our guys safe, and do the work.
Did that have anything to do with pulling the power off the fairground?
We were working in the area, and while we were down there on Poplar Street, saw the situation at the fairgrounds. And I wish I'd been on that property 10 years ago, Mr. Garrett. That property has open breakers, open panels. I'm glad the event went on without any children getting involved in our energy and getting hurt. That property won't have power in its situation now for code office can say what they need to say about the code side of it. There's open triplex sticking out of the ground that we could see from the roadway while we were standing around down there. And the public doesn't need to come in contact with that.
Are the city gonna help them when they come to?
We can't. It's private property unless there's a public-private, some kind of deal going on. You can't help them. I can't go on private property. Like I can't come in your house and fix your electric system. I can't go on the Legion's property and fix their issues. Their issues are multiple. Their issues are code violations, but also system violations. They have a member that was in the power building business for years, and they built power systems inside that behind the meter that aren't safe.
But we can go in there and pull the meters out, though.
We've already done that.
No, actually, we can actually go on the property.
Well, anywhere, our code and our ordinances read, anywhere we have access to, we have to have access to our meters.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Thompson?
Just one, and Brian, thank you for calling me. I'm sorry I didn't get back with you to ask this question prior to tonight, but the two poles, one at the cemetery that's leaning terribly and
Yes,
one
ma'am.
at Brown Oil.
Well, I'd love to cover that one. Those two are owned by Windstream. They are only owned by Windstream, and they are on the DOT right-of-way. So they are not covered by our pole attachment agreement. If we were attached to those poles, we could address those poles. We have got the DOT involved. DOT signal group is involved now. Windstream promised DOT on the phone last week that they would address it that day, and that was Thursday. And as you see, it's not addressed. But the DOT's on them. I talked to them today, the signal group, and they are addressing the situation. But we have really no recourse. If it was city right-of-way, we have recourse. If it was a pole that we were attached to, we would, of course, fix it. But we're not attached to those poles, and it's on DOT right-of-way, so we turned it over to them.
Well, it's
unfortunate.
It's threatening.
It's unfortunate that they've got 3 or 4 emails from me, and I know 6 or 8 phone calls.
But we can't just go in there and replace the poles and send them a bill?
I can't touch those poles. It's not our right-of-way, and it's not our pole.
Okay.
So I got the right-of-way owner involved.
Well, I hope you will stay on them.
Will. So the mayor and I spoke first of the week, this week or end of last week, and he wanted me to give you an overall view of how much work has actually been done on the bond issuance and the fiber to the X outside the city limits. And I just want to walk through these real quickly. What we're doing is we're getting conduit in the ground while the electronics are getting installed. So we have OLTs, which are the devices that we have an OLT at the water tank. And that OLT delivers the internet. It's basically it's a water tank for internet. We have an OLT that is going out on the east side near our inert landfill. That site is being prepped. That device is on site. That will serve the Church Street, back down over to Baker Street, all that area. We have an OLT that is 80% delivered. It will go out in the Ammons Bridge area to serve all that area. And then we will eventually have an OLT on the north side. But installs have started in Pollock. Pine Crest is under design. That's the Pine Crest Holly Hill. These are overhead projects. That design is under review with Corning now and should be ordered shortly. Brentwood conduit is installed. Heritage conduit is installed. Wellington conduit is installed. And these are 170 to 180. Actually, Wellington's about 190 homes. Heritage, Wellington, Bethany project off Snow's Mill is installed. Spring Place should have started yesterday or today. The rain might have slowed them up. Tall Oaks conduit is started. And then the conduits at the pavilion are all in and complete, and that's electric and telecom. We pulled a little over, right at 5,000 feet of wire at the pavilion yesterday, which was a good day. Rain got us today, and we didn't get near that much, but we should have all of the electrical infrastructure installed at the pavilion, hopefully by the first of next week. And we should energize the transformer for Publix into this week, first of next week. We had to negotiate with them and get them to get the elevation correct in the back. They wanted us to install the transformer without the elevation correct, and we wouldn't install the transformer and let the, I didn't want trucks and tractors working around our transformer. We got 2 of them, and it takes 36 weeks to get them. So if they damage one, I'm sitting with nothing. And I'll take any questions y'all may have.
Are there any questions for Brian? Before you go, Brian, where we have the conduit. I'm sorry, explain what we do. We blow the glass.
Well, what happens, the hardest thing on these installs, especially on underground, is getting the conduit, the pedestals, and the boxes installed. That's the hard part. And what do we have in stock? What can you get your hands on? You can get your hands on conduit. You can't get your hands on electronics. You can't get your hands on steel products. We finally got in a whole shipment of our polyconcrete boxes and pedestals in the past week and a half. So you get those installed, then you get your splitter cabinets, which are gold. We have 6 of them in stock now. We have 18 more on order. Put your splitter cabinet in place, and then you blow your fiber out to all locations and start turning up customers.
When you have, how long will it be before we get all 6 in place?
All 6?
You have, we have the cabinet.
One was set at Wellington, or started to be set at Wellington and Heritage last week. Dug the hole, brought the conduit in. The one at Pollock, Highland, not Pollock, Pine Crest is set. One is going out on the Church Street area around Joe Dixon's development and that new development. That will be set right after the OLT is set. So that's probably 2, maybe 3 weeks out from that.
So then it's just blow the glass.
Blow the glass? Well, yeah, just blow the glass. I mean, yeah,
Sounds easy.
Really, in reality, that is really it, but it's a little more complicated, but that's it, yeah.
Okay.
Pull the glass, start hooking them up.
All right, thank you.
Sir.
I appreciate it. Mr. Middlebrooks, water, sewer, gas?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick updates on some of our large water and sewer projects. The Alcovey River 138 sewer is moving along. Lots of rock. It has really slowed them down, but we are moving forward. The sewer plant, the notice to proceed has been given to the contractor. The pre-construction meeting is set for next Wednesday. He already has all his large equipment on site, so we're really looking forward to that project. The 30-inch raw water line, the 20-inch finish line from the plant to the river. We got EPD approval last week, and it's on schedule to be bid the 1st of December. So it's moving along rather well as well. The 18-inch line that we're running up here at the MAB, all the pipes installed. They're next to the church here on the corner. They started the excavation down to the existing 24-inch that's been there for 21 years. Ran into some complications yesterday, opened it back up today. We still got some issues. We're working through those. We think we got a plan. They're gonna open it back up tomorrow, and hopefully we can get it tied together and get that one wrapped up. And the Monroe-Loganville water line, the control contractor has been on site since last Thursday. Everything's moving along good now, but we do have a few controls that we've got some unknown lead times on. So unfortunately, those items are essential for running the pumps, so may be held up a little longer than we had anticipated. But that's all, and if you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you, Rodney. Are there any questions for Mr. Middlebrooks? Hearing none, Chief Dykes, Fire?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. You see the June report in front of you. Looks like we had 229 incidents for the month of June. It was a good month when it comes to fires. We only had 3, and only 2 of those were in the city. One of those we provided aid out to the county. One thing I did add in your packet this month is a heat map that shows our incident distribution for the month. So if you'll take a look at that briefly, you'll see that a majority of our calls are located in the central area of town, but then we've also got a large red area that, as expected, is in that 138 Spring Street area. I will continue to run this portion of the report and provide that to you each month, just so you can kind of get a visualization of where our service demands are currently and where they are moving in the future as growth is rapidly impacting our community. Lastly, one of those, of the 2 fires that we had in the city, one was a significant fire loss. It was a duplex apartment complex with one half that was approximately burned up pretty well during the night. Thankfully, no injuries due to no working smoke alarms, but they were able to vacate. And I would just like to add that our crews did do an excellent job this morning. We had a residential house fire on 6th Street, received aid from Walton County, and Walton County also backed us up because while our crews were on 6th Street, we had 2 additional calls that came into the city with no one to answer, and so the county was gracefully assisted us by covering those calls, which is where our aid agreements come into play. And I'll happily answer any questions you have.
It wasn't Tyler's house, was it?
It was not.
No, it was Ronnie and Marcy's house. They're just down the street from us, they're our neighbors. We actually, one of Lauren's coworkers helped them rescue a dog through us, whole thing. So we know them, we're glad everybody's okay. They did unfortunately lose a few furry family members, but thank you, as I said already, thank you very much for taking care of those folks. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
You have been really quick. I appreciate it. Are there any questions for Chief Dykes?
I said, Chief, I know it's not in the city, but the landfill fire, can you update us on, I guess, what the status of that is? Because we had a lot of problems, questions, I guess, with the smoke coming.
Yes, sir. I got excuse me. I received an update yesterday from Walton County Assistant Fire Chief Craig League. They did another debrief yesterday with EPD, Georgia Forestry, the property owners and so forth, and at this point, they have deemed that the fire is contained. There's a large break around it. Everything is piled up, and they have essentially demobilized the actual incident response portion of it, and it will continue to smolder for some period of time, but in terms of it being an active scene, that is no longer the case. No one is continuing to monitor it, but due to the fact that there were numerous trees, stumps, limbs, without any type of barrier between all of the layers, it's just like a tremendous campfire that you can't put out. And I don't know what the numbers were from Rodney, but do you have any idea on how many hundreds of thousands of gallons they put on it? 1.8 million gallons a day. Okay. And we're still not out, and it won't be out. Their long-term plan is to work with the property owners on trying to get a large amount of dirt in and actually just bury it and hope that that smothers it. But you'll continue to see smoke rising from that for quite some time.
Thank you.
How do we handle water costs? Maybe this might be a Rodney question. How do we handle water costs during a fire?
Normally, that's not something we bill, but in this situation with the amount of water, they started Wednesday, Thursday, they used it for 3 days, we know. Large amount of water. I don't know what the average residential fire would, I mean, it's not, what would that be?
A few thousand gallons?
Several thousand gallons on a traditional fire.
Normally, we wouldn't bill something like that, but.
We'll be talking with EPD and Department of Natural Resources on
They weren't in compliance with.
initial understanding, no, but I can't really speak to that for sure.
Let us know, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Chief Watts, police.
Thank you, Mayor. So you got our numbers before you here. You see our calls for service are just slightly up. Area checks are a little bit down, and our crime stats are actually going up. And again, you know, last month I kind of contributed to the COVID going away, people getting back to some normalcy here, and it being the summer months and long hours of daylight. But I will say with the crime rate going up, our clearance rate compared to last year at this time, our clearance rate was 26.67%. And this month, this year is 42.86%. And our arrest rate is more than doubled. So even though the crime has been going up, I feel like our department's been handling it with due diligence. I know we've reported the last 30 days, we've taken 10 guns off the street and doing our regular investigation. Something that is a positive, we just finished up moving in our new PD. We've been in there for about 3 weeks, still got a little finesse to go on, but we're very grateful and thankful to be in the building, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions if you should have any.
Are there any questions for the chief?
I got a few questions.
Yes, sir.
How many agencies did you contact about coming in Saturday?
For the event out at the fairgrounds?
Yes.
I contacted the surrounding counties, the sheriff's department, and municipalities to be on standby. And the reason for that is initially we were told this was just going to be a dog and car show, and we had got information that there was supposed to be a famous celebrity coming to sing at the event. Normally, you know, we have seen in the past where people promote these celebrities to try to boost their event. We looked at our intelligence, and within 24 hours of the event happening, it was confirmed that this celebrity was going to be coming to Monroe. We also received information that this celebrity could bring upwards of 5,000 to 10,000 people to the city of Monroe. So when I heard that amount, I went ahead and started taking steps to plan and prepare for that large amount of gathering that was going to be coming to the city. We're not designed, our infrastructure is not designed to be able to handle that large amount of gathering. So not only did I notify local law enforcement and surrounding agencies, we notified our EMA director, our EMS director, our ER director, Monroe Fire, Walton Fire, everyone that it could potentially impact, just to have a plan in place. We met Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Monroe Police Department to just communicate that to these other surrounding areas should we need their assistance. But, you know, luckily everything went smooth. We didn't even have to step foot on the fairgrounds to interact with anything that went on. Everything went as planned without any issues.
My concern is when I asked you about giving us officers for the fairground event, you said you didn't have any officers to actually give. But that night, for some reason, you almost had 30 people at the Grand. What reason was that?
I had every officer, sworn law enforcement officer that works for the City of Monroe Police Department working that evening. And again, as I was saying, when we got information that there could be upwards of 5,000 to 10,000 people that were going to be coming to the City of Monroe, I needed them working in their official capacity as a law enforcement officer.
But you knew that by the time that event was over, that rapper had not only finished, but had already left Monroe. Because y'all followed him to the Waffle House. and then he went out of Monroe, so you knew that he wasn't going to the Grand.
Actually,
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
well, actually, I did not know where he went. I actually had told my officers if they could locate, if he was staying in Monroe, if he was leaving, because it was advertised that he was going to be going to the Grand. And if he was going to the Grand, I think the capacity of that building was around 550. I think at the fairgrounds, a fair estimate would be between 1,500 to 2,000 people that were at the fairgrounds while he was there. We later learned that he was not going to the Grand. However, we still had a large gathering that showed up at the Grand. I'm familiar with the Grand. We've had issues in that establishment up there over the years, and even while it's been where it's at currently. I think it was a couple of years ago, I had 2 shot inside that facility, and one of those individuals died from that. Last week, I had 2 shootings within the city limits of Monroe. So I had grave concern of potential issues if something were to spark off over there at the Grand. So I made sure that I had planning and preparations in place to deal with anything should it arise.
My next question was, how many people that was actually pulled over Saturday? I would like to actually get a count of how many people was actually pulled over during the course of all day Saturday. And I actually like to know how many were black and how many were white. Because I've never had that many calls about people feel like they're being harassed about Monroe Police Department. And I don't want to say that it's a racial thing, but from the way it look, I can't say nothing but it would have to be racial. I know for a fact that I've been pulled over 3 times by your officers. I wonder how many other council members been pulled over by Monroe police officers.
I have.
And for what reason?
Speeding on Bree Love after a city council meeting that went on forever.
Then you might need to been pulled over. What I was pulled over for was you read my tag and you saying it ain't, well, you can't read it the way you want to read it. What sense do that make?
I got that one.
And like I asked him, let me ask you a question. What do you need to read my tag for if I ain't doing nothing? So I kind of feel like you got police targeting minorities. And I told you this before, and I'm telling you again, that I don't feel like the way y'all got people policing is a good way of policing, because I think you're actually targeting minorities. And I got a real issue with that. Because if you actually see some of them videos that I saw with police from Monroe standing everywhere, and even one of them had the nerve to come by and just wave, kind of like, oh, we do what we want to do. Y'all should have saw these videos. I mean, surely they sent some of y'all the videos. They don't sent me 10 or 12 of them. And I can't be the only council member that concerned about this police department in the actual direction that it's actually going for the citizen of Monroe. Because now you got people thinking that they feel like they don't even want black people in Monroe. That's what this event actually made it look like. The fact that you can run all them officers up there where no one was there. Nothing happened that day or that night. But you got tons of police officers just basically standing and helping over black people. I got an issue with that. And y'all should have issue with it too.
Chief, with a 20% reduction in crime in the last 2 years, did you speak with the promoter of the event afterwards?
Yes, sir, I sure did. I actually spoke with him again today. He actually thanked us for our support and even thanked us for not even having to interject on the fairgrounds while they were conducting their event there. He came and see me one-on-one, and he was wanting to hire off-duty officers, and I explained to him just what I explained here as far as not having the infrastructure to be able to deal with the large gathering. But I said, we are here. If you need us, if you call 911, we will respond. And again, it went as according as planned. No issues whatsoever.
The issue wasn't what happened in the fairground. The issue is everything that happened outside of the fairground, because then nothing happened on the inside of the fairground.
Right.
Everything I got called about was on the outside of the fairground. All the videos came from the outside of the fairground, and everything happened after the fairground was completed.
Right.
So when y'all, and you was actually out there yourself from what I was told, you was there.
I sure
So
was.
you know the rapper didn't come there. So it ain't like you didn't know he wasn't there. You clearly see he wasn't there. Y'all had fire marshal and everybody else to run out there. So it wasn't over capacity. So it seemed like y'all did a whole lot of nonsense looking for something that you didn't have no reason to look for, in my opinion.
Mr. Garrett, was it advertised that he was going to be at the Grand?
No, you talked to me, and I told you he wasn't going to be at the Grand.
Was it advertised that he was going to be there?
You said it was advertised. I ain't see the advertising.
I could show you the advertisement. It was advertised he was going to be there.
But didn't you had that conversation, and you had other conversation with other people that told you he was not coming to the Grand. That wasn't in his contract to come out there. So you knew he wasn't gonna be there. Clearly you knew that.
I did not know that. I planned
So
accordingly.
you just assuming.
My job is to protect the citizens of this city, and that's exactly what we
But
did.
we want you to
Saturday night.
protect both of them, white and black. Because this would not have happened on the downtown green. You got helicopters flying over that place out there.
The reason the helicopter was here was because Georgia State Patrol got into a car pursuit and an individual bailed out of the vehicle and ran. That's why the helicopter was on scene.
Unreal.
I will say too, I was able to go out with PD on Saturday evening, and it was a great exercise in cooperation amongst the surrounding areas. And I would commend our police department and the professionalism. I never once witnessed anything to what you're speaking about.
Let me ask you, do you feel threatened now?
Do I feel threatened?
When you come to these meetings, do you feel threatened? Because I'm trying to figure out why you always bring a gun to the meeting.
What do you mean, what do I feel threatened by what?
Do you feel threatened by being in this meeting? What the purpose of the gun being in the meeting?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we are just heading off into the ridiculous here.
No, the ridiculous part is y'all won't stand up for what you need to stand up for. That's what ridiculous is.
Well, I don't know why you want to ask Mr. Bradley a question like that. Mr. Garrett?
It's one that you should have been asking months back.
Gentlemen,
That we got to come in a meeting with somebody that feel like all of a sudden we need to be walking around with guns in the council meeting?
Mr. Garrett. Mr. Garrett.
It ain't no Mr. Garrett. You see the same thing I see, but y'all,
You are
don't wanna talk.
Mr. Garrett, correct?
What?
You are Mr. Garrett, correct?
What do they have to do with anything?
You just said you're not Mr. Garrett. I'm just telling you.
What I'm telling you is
that
we need to
are
start addressing
legally
stuff
allowed-
before it get to this point.
This member of this council is legally allowed to carry a weapon if he is approved,
Permitted to do so. And I've done that for 10
if
years.
you're
everywhere
permitted
I
to
go.
do so. I don't think it has anything to do about fear. It's just naturally he has a concealed carry permit. He carries it here, he carries it.
We understand you can carry a gun where you want to carry it if you have a permit.
Right, so.
But
this-
what's the reason for bringing it in the council meeting? That's the question I ask.
It's the same reason I take it everywhere, Mr. Garrett,
And what reason is that?
for my personal protection.
So who do you feel threatened by?
No one in particular.
Okay. That's what I thought.
That's what you thought, Mr. Garrett. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, let's move to Mr. Kelly, monthly code.
Well, this is going to be boring. This covers the code department for June. The month of June, we had 145 code inspections. During that time, we wrote 67 permits. We had an equal amount of new and closed businesses at 4. The city marshals, actually, I want to back up. As far as inspections go, we did hire a full-time inspector in lieu of our contractor that we've had for 5 years. So that person is going to be on, and that ought to improve our ability to get more done as far as inspections go and enforcement. And then moving on to the marshals, they removed 76 signs from the roadway, they wrote 338 repair cleanup notices, and did re-inspections. They investigated a tampering case, wrote 9 citations. Today, we doubled down on our efforts to police the city for exposed soil and erosion control measures on all the residential properties in the city. So hopefully, we'll be getting some proper ground covers where there's bare dirt and erosion occurring at all the, single-family, individually owned and rental properties within the city. Also attached to that is a list of the repair cleanup notices that were issued during June. And if you have any questions about that or the balance of the report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Are there any questions for Patrick? Sorry, man, you got nothing tonight.
News fest.
Lady Croswick, monthly economic development.
Thank you. We have a lot going on last month and this month. The image on the report there is from our Olympic watch party that we had for Javion Oliver. It's very exciting at Southern Brewing. That's a picture of her family, and Coach Oliver's in the front. You see the athletic director for Monroe Area High School in the back, and then the Monroe Area basketball coach is also there. So it was a great evening. We'll be doing it again Wednesday night because she'll be running in the 4x100 relay. We also did a watch party during the farmers market, so it's just fun to have a local really successful athlete and be able to celebrate that in our downtown and get a little economic boost by bringing everybody out. So it's been a lot of fun to cheer her on. And we are pulling together a bicentennial planning committee to set aside that full week from November 28th through December 4th, wrapping up with our cleanup day, that was already mentioned. We'll have a full week of activities and celebrations for the bicentennial then. We'll post more details as those become set, getting closer to date. We had our DDA planning meeting this last week, and we'll have updated work plans that we'll review at our monthly meeting this month, and then bring them before you all next month. And we're continuing to do work with Lord Act Sargent on the Blaine Station Master Plan, and that will go before Planning and Zoning next month and be before all of you in October if we stay on the calendar that we have set. And the last couple of things are we will be represented at the GMA conference with the Monroe presentation on economic development. And the Georgia Downtown Conference is also this month, and we have been notified that we will be receiving awards again. I don't know what those are yet, but we will be able to share next month the awards. So we're very pleased about that. And then the last piece of information, which I'm thrilled to share, is that the Walton County Healthcare Foundation has approved a grant for the downtown green to cover the splash pad portion of the downtown green. So they're going to partner with us to help that project come together. So that's a great win for us, and we're very, very thankful for their support on this great project for our community. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Fantastic, Sadie. When are you giving the report at GMA?
It's Monday. Monday.
I'll be announcing the next city to host Young Game Changers.
Yes.
It may be at the same thing. So
It's probably, I think it's different, but mine's like a separate.
whenever they tell me, I'll be there. Are there any questions for Ms. Crosby?
One question. I know y'all doing the watch parties, Ms. Oliver. Are there any plans for welcome her back when she returns to the Olympics?
Yes, we've been talking with the family. We definitely want to do something. She lives where she trains, so we've got to coordinate to bring her back to Monroe. We'd like to do something special, some kind of parade or ceremony or something. I'm sure the mayor's been in conversation as well, but we definitely want to celebrate her.
I'll let you know, but I've got some people that want to contribute to that and be involved with it.
Wonderful, that'd be great. Oh, I should also mention Dinosaur Day is August 14th. You know, we did Unicorn. We're going to have Dinosaur Day. So just prepare for the dinosaurs downtown.
And you did Harry Potter the other night.
Yes, there were some Harry Potter events last week.
How was, I know they were sold out.
Good one. That was on.
Magical, very Disney-ish. Thank you, Sadie. Were there any other questions for Ms. Krozik? Hearing none, moving to monthly parks report. Chris Bailey.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple of quick notes. Pilot Park, we met with a contractor. I may have talked about this last month, but it's been 30 days and I can't really remember, but I'll reiterate it about a couple of drainage issues that we've got on the lower half. And get that kind of taken care of before hopefully the end of grass growing season, so everything grows back and looks kind of nice. Matthews Park, the second phase of renovations and additions that we discussed at council retreat will be before council tonight too, later in the meeting. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Rezone of US Highway 78 and Aycock Avenue. I'll open the floor to council members only for discussion and/or action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve that rezone.
I have a motion by Mr. Dickinson to approve and a second by Mr. Bradley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I know you've been working for months and months and months. We're excited about what you're going to do out there. Moving to the preliminary plan review, 202 Michael Etchison Road. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is just a preliminary plat approval by the council for them to move to their development plans. Staff and Planning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat, subject to the corrections listed in the staff report. Many of those have already been addressed. A number of them still remain to be done, and we will not present that to y'all for signatures until we get all that ironed out. But recommendation is for approval.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions? Mr.
Those
Kelly?
24 items were pretty impressive. Very detailed.
They've cut it down significantly.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dickinson, is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to take that one, Ms. Malcolm.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the approval of the 2021 millage rate, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a recommendation of the full rollback rate for the 2021 tax digest. I'm just going to read this. This is a 2021 tax digest from the county, shows an increase of 8.866%. If the millage rate was left unchanged from 2020, this would qualify as a tax increase due to inflationary growth in the digest. Instead, it is recommended by staff to adopt the full rollback rate of 7.404 mils for 2021. This will give the city a prospective 10% increase coming from new growth in the digest, which translates to about $345,609 more than the 2020 at 100% collections. The 5-year history of the digest with current year's digest and levy were properly advertised in the city's legal origin on July 25th, 2021, as well as on the City of Monroe's website. Property taxes will be collected by the Walton County Tax Commissioner's Office again this year. This will be an overall tax generated of $3,781,891 if adopted.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Gregory to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Take that to Mr. Ross Bradley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Also, Tyler, thank you for the motion, but I do appreciate how much time you invest in learning the role of the chairperson for your finance committee and how much you work with Beth. I just want to let you know.
Beth's
It's real
great teacher.
important. Well, yeah, she's pretty awesome. You did get a good teacher. Moving to the remote payment kiosk purchase, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposal to purchase 2 payment kiosks for the customer utility payments. What this is looks like an ATM machine. What a customer can do is go to the kiosk and make a utility bill payment. They can check their balance. They can pay with cash, card, or a check. It will print out a full receipt. The payment is automatic, and it goes to their account right away. We're proposing to put one here at our drive-through that will replace the drop box that we currently have. The current drop box that we have is very old. We've been in this building for many years. And all a customer does is drop their payment into there. A lot of people pay in cash, and we have problems with people that say they paid, that didn't pay, or their payment gets stuck in the drop box because it is so old and antiquated. There will be a camera on the outside and on the inside of the safe. So it'll be dual protection for the customer and for us. We're proposing one to go here at City Hall to replace the drop box and one to go out at the new PD building and court building on the outside. So it gives customers on that end of town an option to pay their utility bill without having to come all the way into town. It's just an added way for a customer to pay their bill. It can be, like I said, it'll be automatic. As soon as they pay it, it hits their account here in the office. So if they're on due for cutoff, we'll get that right away. So this also kind of takes place of a face-to-face payment with our cashiers to kind of prevent cross-contamination for COVID and other things. So we're going to pay for it out of the American Rescue Plan funds, since it kind of prevents face-to-face payments and face-to-face interaction. And the proposal is for $66,551.20.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Tyler Gregory to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the appointments of the Airport Advisory Committee, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. This is a request for the appointment of the 5 members that are listed on the second page to serve in the capacity of the advisory committee for the airport for the period of the next 3 years. There were 3 that asked to remain and 2 new to take the spots of 2 that weren't interested in stepping back onto the board.
Right. Thank you. I know that that's taken a lot of work from those folks, and I know sometimes it can be stressful. You're working with them. Are there any questions for Chris?
Do you want a motion for all five together or separately?
I do, and if you would name them all five, that's fine.
We'll move the appointment of these: William Scott, Daniel Nugent, William Chapman, Charlie Brown, and Nicole Hanson Nunley.
I'll second.
No, sir. Not Nicole. I have Virgil Williams Jr.
I'm sorry.
No, you've got an older copy then.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
So that was updated today?
Replacement, yeah.
So Nicole, okay. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Bradley. To the three-year term to expire the 4th, 2024. Are there any questions for Chris? Is there a second to the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Larry Bradley with the motion and Mr. Ross Bradley with a second. Now, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to site engineering and project formulation. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Items 6 and 7 kind of work together. If one goes and the other one doesn't, then there's no point in the other. So it's either all or nothing on these two. This is for a request and approval of GMC Network to perform site engineering for a proposed 100 by 100 maintenance hangar to go on the Richard Parsons side of the airport. And this will be for $35,500, where they take care of all site plans, drainage, all the filings that we have to do with the state. Basically come up with a plan for everything, at which point we would then turn it over to the leasee, who would then build, grade, do all of the additional work. So, and there are a couple of site plans. I think the layout of where it goes at the airport is on the last page. Scope of services are on the other couple of pages, and I'd be happy to take any questions. This would be a huge benefit to the airport to get a permanent maintenance hangar out there.
Will this, is the plan for them to do regular inspections as well?
As far, yeah, I mean, anything maintenance of aircraft that are on site, you had asked earlier what the based aircraft count was, and with that increasing exponentially, it would sustain the business much better than it has been in the past, because there would be more aircraft out there.
That would be a great economic development tool. Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve.
A motion by Mr. Ross Bradley. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was second by Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the maintenance hangar ground lease.
Okay, fingers crossed, the first one means this one will be good news too. This is the lease agreement that we will discuss with, or that we've already discussed with a potential tenant for that 100 by 100. Typically in a lease agreement, there would be, like the first exhibit would be an actual plat that's been surveyed, but because of the way everything is situated, we received tentative allocation for a terminal building, and then we're asking that GMC actually do the site plan. I didn't want to pay surveyors to come out, mark points that may move until, and then we have to decide what size terminal hangar we can actually afford and with grant money. So I left it with a conceptual, and then Exhibit B actually shows the building itself. Everything fits in with the ALP. The leasee is happy with everything that's in here, the terms, the amount of rent and whatnot. And then this is to keep in mind, if we approve it tonight, everything still has to be designed, and then once we get plat and everything situated, it'll be approved by the attorneys before anything is actually signed. So I kind of did it. It's a little bit of chicken and the egg. Which one kind of comes first? I say both.
I did want to know that once we complete all of these items, I think this fully completes our 5-year CIP from 5 years ago.
Correct.
So we've been on a tear at the airport getting a lot of these things accomplished.
I know, Chris loves it.
Chris, is this hangar for a single plane or is it multiple use?
Oh, no, this is the actual maintenance hangar itself that would sit on the site for that previous design. So 100 by 100, I mean, they could store a good bit. Then they'll use tie-down spaces, which will draw traffic that way. Parking for the terminal building and this will tie together. It's a good way to kind of get the biggest bang for the buck, because we're essentially putting in two buildings side by side and doing some joint projects.
Are there any additional questions for Chris? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve that one as well, Mr. Mayor.
A motion by Mr. Ross Bradley. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the 2020 CDBG project request and bid award. Mr. Bailey, you have a busy night.
Got it again. I'll change hats on this one, though. This is for the request of the approval of the low bid for the 2020 CDBG stormwater project that's situated on the Mobley Circle, Felker, East Washington, Colquitt, Hubbard, and Cherokee areas. The low bid came in at $1.822077 million from the Dickerson Group, who's done work for us in the past. I know Rodney had good success with them on a previous CDBG, and then they helped us out on this past one. The bid came in higher than what was budgeted, but it's kind of due to everything else. Everything construction related is, 10 to 20% higher right now. So it was kind of what we were expecting. So they're going to look at possibly going from HDPE to concrete pipe, which should save us a little bit per foot. And when you're looking at 7,000 to 8,000 feet of pipe, that could be fairly substantial. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Chris? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. David Dickinson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Larry Bradley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Chris, let's come back to you with the Matthews Park Phase 2, please.
Okay, that's the last one, I promise. This is the Phase 2 of Matthews Park for renovations to the park, what we had discussed in council meetings, council retreat, different things that we did. There's, if you flip over to the second page, it actually kind of shows a bit of a diagram. It shows what we did in the Phase 1, which was a total of about $165,000 in renovations and rehab work. And then Phase 2 is roughly $334,000, give or take, but we have two items that are out for bid, one seal bid. So we don't know the exact cost of that, but I can promise it'll come down from what the original quote was when we started venturing into this. The proposed ideas were to do away with the back parking lot area. I know we'd had some public safety issues back there. To move that parking, you can see, to the front that comes off of the initial entrance into the park. And then to add some additional parking down where the little kiosk, the little starting hole is for the disc golfers. Ms. Crawford, you had asked me about parking spaces. Doing the footages and everything that's on the back area, roughly, that was about 40 spaces. If we do the additions at the front and then do the addition of a parking area there at that kiosk, we get 38 spaces. So we're only losing 2, and we're able to move it forward to where it's much easier, and it leaves everything else green space, essentially. This second phase will include replacing the one metal awning with a wooden awning, wooden structure that actually resembles the one that's already there to the left, and then adding an additional 30 by 60 pavilion on the backside over where you can see. There's an additional restroom that will be part of the 2021 CIP, so I'm not including it in this actual project request. And then walkways that'll be ADA compliant to get to the pavilions, to get to the restrooms, to the different play areas. And just the items that we talked about. I did talk to the residents that are on the backside of that property about potential privacy fence. There was one that wanted it, one that didn't, and the rest were indifferent. So I think what we do is we proceed with this build-out, and then if that changes, then we come back and we do it, which, I mean, be easy to do. So the actual project request is for $300,000 for Matthews Park, because I believe with seal bids, I can get that 334 number under that 300. I'm actually fairly confident in that.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the work you've been putting in there. Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Crawford. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the discussion approval of the transfer station scales. Chris, I'm going to take it away from you to Danny.
Sad.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we asked your approval to purchase the Talon truck scale from Fairbanks with the additional cost of $7,466.70 at $107,466.70. The added cost is due to the increasing cost of metal, which is 90% steel, the scale is, so that's the reason for the additional cost. The quote also includes a rental scale where we'll open one lane and continue to operate while they're installing the new scale, replacing the old one because it's 20 years old and it's a lot of major repairs starting to creep up. So that would reserve at least, or prevent a loss of at least $150,000 during that 2-week period by continuing to operate.
Thank you, Danny. Are there any questions for Mr. Smith? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve, Mayor.
Motion to approve by Mr. Ross Bradley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tyler Gregory. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to approval of the Walton County School SRO Program Agreement. Chief Watts.
Thank you, Mayor. What this is, our annual agreement between the City of Monroe and the Walton County School District, where we're compensated, the city is compensated an amount of $55,000 for the school resource officer that we provide for Monroe High School. Just need the council's approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the chief? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Little. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion, a second by Mr. Ross Bradley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the approval of the Walton County SRP Program Agreement for Foothills Charter. Chief Watts.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is the, another annual agreement between the City of Monroe and the Walton County School District for the compensation amount of $24,600 for the officer that we provide for the school resource officer at Foothills Educational Charter High School. Just need council's approval.
And is this one also reimbursable from the school board?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And I have both of those here, Mayor, that I'll need you to get signed after the meeting.
Yes, sir. I signed a bunch of stuff before, just hoping that was going to be the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions for RV? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
You, Ross?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion is second by Mr. Ross Bradley. Mr. Larry Bradley, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Thank you, RV. Moving to the renewal of the internet capacity connection, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. It's rare that I come in with a savings, and today is one of them. Our internet capacity comes through two lines through a company called GPW. GPW is used to be part of MEAG, and they go to 55 and 56 Marietta Street respectively. We have been looking for the past couple of years for an access point outside of Atlanta, just for divergent path, weather. They're both of those buildings are on the same power grid, even though they're both backed up with gas-fired generators. So Negotiated with GPW, talked with them over the past 6 to 9 months about this other link, and they have come up with a path to Jacksonville. They will sell us a 10 gig link to Jacksonville, and the 2 existing links to Atlanta with our 10 gigs of internet at Atlanta through GPW, 10 gigs of internet through Cogent in Atlanta, and another 10 gigs of internet from Cogent in Jacksonville. Right now, our current costs are right at $11,000 a month. That cost will drop down to $8,863 per month, and we'll have everything we have now, plus a link to Jacksonville. And I will take any questions you may have.
That sounds great, Brian. Are there any questions for Mr. Thompson? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve by Mr. Nathan Little. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gregory. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the approval of the resolution and solar power purchase contract.
I'm not saving money here, but this is the project that y'all approved, Logan and I, to entertain with MEAG, with the possibility of getting some solar power into our power mix. The maximum amount we can get is 3 megawatts. That cost is around 2.59 cents per kilowatt hour at the site. The cost is per delivered energy. There's no capacity cost. There will be transmission cost. Of course, we have transmission cost in all of our energy. So we're wanting you to vote to go forward to get up to 3 megawatts of energy from this project. The 2 caveats for that are, if the project is undersubscribed, under 80 megawatts, the deal goes away. We have to renegotiate. If it's over 80 megawatts, we will get our pro rata share of whatever that number ends up being. I would expect us to be right in that 2.5 to 3 megawatts of power from this project. No matter what you think about green energy or this type of energy, this is cheap energy. And it's available on peak times during hot days. And it also adds, 50% of this capacity will go toward our federally required capacity to have online at any point. So that helps us out in that point too. We don't have to go out and buy capacity to keep that 15% number up. We've got a contract coming due here in the next few years on a gas turbine plant that we won't have to renew because we'll have this and some of the hydro y'all allowed us to get. There will be a requirement for green energy eventually. And with this and our hydro, I think we will meet that number. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Brian? Brian, is the cost low because subsidies?
Tax credits. The company that is building the project will get all the tax credits. They will own the project. The other reason that I'm for moving into this project is at the end of the lifespan of these solar panels, we're not responsible for disposing of them. The owner of the project will be responsible for putting these in a landfill somewhere, and we won't be exposed to that cost.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to
Second.
approve.
I'm sorry, David. I'm going to allow Paul to read first, and then I'm coming to
You
you.
got to read the resolution.
Sorry, Paul.
It's okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move the waiving of the reading of this entire thing.
I can second that, I will.
I appreciate both of those. May we do that? Thank you. So a motion to waive the motion to waive the reading by Mr. Larry Bradley, a second by Ross.
And just for the record, because it's so extremely long.
They'll take the rest of the night.
It's long.
Okay, everybody good with that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Now I'll entertain a motion
Now I
with
move to approve.
waiving. So Mr. Dickinson with the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Larry. Thank you, Ross. Sorry you didn't get your stage time tonight, Paul. Moving to the mayoral update, most of you received an email that said, hey, I have Javen Oliver's shirt for you. Her mother then contacted me and said she needed those, so If you didn't come get them, you can't have them. Sorry, I had to take them back to JV's mom. Sadie mentioned she's running again tomorrow night in the 4x100 relay. So find one of the watch parties, show up. Second, had a meeting today, Larry Hanson's weekly call, GMA, and Dr. Schmidtke was on. She said that in the state of Georgia, there are 4,136,000 people who have been fully vaccinated, which is running around 40%. And out of those, less than 5,000 have gotten COVID. Larry Bradley has beat the odds. He was one of those who contracted COVID after being vaccinated, and we're glad you're healthy, and Carol too. But they also went on to say 97% of new COVID hospitalizations are non-vaccinated. I'm not pushing a vaccine, but I am going to tell you that this new variant is very aggressive. And we need to do everything we can, whether you believe in masks, whether you believe in vaccinations, or if you just believe in social distancing and hand washing. You do you. I believe in your personal responsibility, but I would be derelict in my duties if I did not say your health matters to all of us. So please take care of yourselves. In our guest, I hope you'll do the same. And for those who are watching at home, wash your hands. The Pfizer shot, it appears, is going to be the shot that is finally approved by the FDA, and that's expected next month. So for those folks who say it's just experimental, not anymore. After next month, they need to go ahead and start planning those vaccines. Got a notice from the county for our future Walton County Comprehensive Plan. I'll be on that committee. I've also designated Sadie. I've asked Sadie, and she has graciously accepted to be a part of that. So just wanted to let you know that. Last thing, Officer Paramore and I, on backpack book bag giveaway day, last Saturday, we had First AB, gave away a few hundred. George Harris, who's been just outstanding to our community, does a barbecue every year, has a band right out by the old Carver High School, does all the fundraising by himself, just a really, really good man. Was also giving away backpacks. And then Straight Street Ministries, which is Pastor and Dr. Angel Savage. Great couple. So Paramore and I were out there, and they contacted me well in advance, and I gave my little, speech to the 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, and Paramore got last minute notice, and he walked in at the very end, and she said, well, come up and give a speech. You did great, and I appreciate it. Officer Paramore's here with us tonight. That's the reason I wanted to point that out. You really did. You did fine. Well, and I appreciate you being here tonight, too. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Larry Bradley. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. We'll adjourn to executive session. Thank you, everybody.